You got your first piece of film, your first projector, when you were very young, about 9, didn't you?
Yes. Do you want me to tell about that?
Yes.
Every filmmaker has a unique style. You can see it in Scorsese's eat or be eaten worldview,
Come on. Let me have it. Give me the bread.
Kubrick's symmetry, and Coppola's struggles with family and finding hope.
Ah, that little farce you played with my sister.
So many of the emotionally driven narratives of Ingmar Bergman's characters are done through a voyeuristic angle. Sometimes it's a speaker just barely off screen, looming over our main character, yet reflected in a mirror so as to capture their emotions. Sometimes it's two characters having a deep conversation without being able to look each other in the eye. And sometimes the face says it all, capturing all the pain, confusion, and resentment his characters are often put through. The way we look at the world communicates just as much about us as it does the world itself. However, the most underrated tool of cinematic language that Bergman often employs is silence. When you watch a Bergman film, you're being invited into a spectacle of doubt in the existence of God, but also doubt in the supernatural as a whole. Through a Glass Darkly, Winter Light, and of course The Silence comprise what has come to be known as Bergman's Silence of God trilogy. Each of these three films acts as their own abstract, self-contained narratives, but each of them speak to a different aspect of Bergman's psyche. Whereas Through a Glass Darkly focuses on a young woman's revelation that she's heard the voice of God, and Winter Light follows a pastor with a wavering faith in even his own prayers, The Silence features no overtly religious presence. Instead, it allows the audience to ponder the misery of two sisters, Anna and Esther, played by Gunnel Lindblom and Ingrid Thulin respectively, in a very cerebral way. Meanwhile, Anna's young son Johan, played by Jörgen Lindström, is caught in the middle of it all. And this is where I should put a spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't seen The Silence yet, but is looking forward to. Anna suffers from the stress of constantly being held to an impossibly high moral standard by her sister. She wants to go out into the world and enjoy life, but she's weighed down by her guilt. On the other hand, Esther suffers from a physical illness that leaves her bedridden, so she's left unable to stimulate her mind. She's jealous of her sister for the freedom to explore the world beyond the glamorous walls of the hotel, which eventually become mundane with time. And this is all extracted from subtext. It's understood through what is not said. Johan is essentially the stand-in for the viewer, going back and forth between the sisters' passive-aggressive emotional warfare. He witnesses two very different sides of the story, yet he often finds himself shut out by both of them, as does the audience. The both of them are hiding from the world in their own ways, and Johan is neglected and forgotten in the midst of it all. Even though they cannot communicate with the world beyond the hotel in a literal sense, they similarly cannot communicate with each other on a personal level. The Silence sees Esther being neglected by a sister waiting for her to die. Her sister actively makes her feel worse in life than she might in death, and this is a theme that appears in many of Bergman's films. It can be observed in the rest of the Silence of God trilogy, and it's a social predicament that many people, particularly introverts, often find themselves in. And I identified with Esther very strongly on that front. There's a lot of raw emotion being thrown around in this film, and much of it is delivered without spoken word. Take, for instance, or you can feel how palpable their feelings are in these quiet moments. Here's how it looks edited down. And that is what I'm talking about, the power of silence. The thing about Bergman is that his characters are always grounded in reality, no matter how surreal the narrative may become. They are always real people you might cross paths with in the world someday. And it's because they capture the essence of the human condition so well that they mirror us as the viewer. In Anna, I can see my desire for passion and acceptance. In Esther, I can feel her loneliness and self-loathing. In Johann, I can express my curiosity and childlike wonder about the world around me. At the end of the day, Bergman and his team have created a legacy of greatly spiritual films that explore the human mind and how we make sense of the world through religion and through each other. Thank you.